I tried to be slick with it. What's up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharp, and welcome to this special edition of of TSR Sports Talk. Miami J was not able to make it. I think probably because he has to work, and it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Most people are still at work, but I've got Jay Blaze here with me. How you doing, man?
Okay. I'm not emotionally tied to the Cowboys as much as like the people that were burning Dak Prescott's jersey. So
Oh my
I'm
god.
I'm doing all right.
So, give me your initial thoughts on the game last night because it was very clear very early on. It was very, very clear, very, very early on that the Packers were just the better football team last night. What are your thoughts on what happened, the debacle? Where did the Cowboys go from here? What are your initial thoughts?
They looked like they didn't practice the entire week,
Yeah.
and you saw it early on where CD Lamb was like he was talking to a few coaches on the sideline.
Yeah.
I think Dak was missing his spots because Dak has a tendency in playoff games and stuff to tense up and miss his spots.
Ah,
And you can't have that in a quarterback, especially somebody as limited as Dak. And dude, like it, yeah, Mike McCarthy showed his limit for coaching, and I think they need another X and O's guy. And like I don't know how you pay Dak in either this offseason or next. I don't know how you do it.
yeah, man. My thoughts are I told you so. I told you
Yeah.
so, man. Look, man, everybody bought into the hype. And I'll admit, I'm biased because I'm an Eagles fan. And
Yep.
so, I can admit that I do have some bias, but I pride myself on being able to look at things honestly. Like, for example, right now, the Philadelphia Eagles, not a very good football team right now. We absolutely wet the bed at the end of the season. Our offense is predictable. Our defense can't, I mean, dude, our defense can't stop a nosebleed. We're lucky. I mean, to be honest with you, we're actually quite fortunate to be in the playoffs right now. Now, we banked a bunch of wins in the beginning of the season, and that's why we're here now. But the difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys is that the Eagles beat playoff teams. We lost games that
Yeah.
we weren't supposed to lose, right? We lost to the Cardinals, we lost to the Giants. We just looked very bad down the stretch. But don't never forget, the Eagles are not in the playoffs for no reason. We beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, we beat the Buffalo Bills, we beat the Miami Dolphins, and we beat the Dallas Cowboys. All four of those teams are playoff teams. We had no business losing to the Seahawks. I will say that. But when you have an owner like Jerry Jones who makes a comment after beating the Washington Commanders on on Thanksgiving, talking about, man, I haven't felt this good since the Super Bowl run back in 1995. You get guys reading their own press clippings, guys actually buy into the hype. The media buys into the hype. Now, here's the thing. I thoroughly expected the score to be the other way around. I thought that
Yeah.
if the Packers won, it was going to be a close game. I thought that if the Cowboys won, it would be a blowout. That clearly turned out not to be the case. So what this comes down to for me is that this is the same old Cowboys. They dominate the
Yeah.
regular season, they beat up on the bad teams, okay? But when they play good teams, they are simply not the same football team. And we'll get into some of those other elements, but those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, and Jerry at the end of the season basically said Mike is running game to game.
Yeah.
And dude, that you were ripping your head coach's legs out from under him.
Yep.
And this is the problem with Jerry. The last coach that had some balls was Bill Parcells,
Right.
and he established a team that was had immense talent, and he got rid of them because of To.
Yep.
And then Wade Phillips went 13-3,
Yep.
and they lost first round of the playoffs.
There you go. There you go.
And Jerry needs to like get a coach that will run the team, not have Jerry just run the coach.
Who do you think? Obviously, listen, man, someone's going to be held accountable. Heads are going to roll. Changes are clearly, hold on. Changes are clearly going to be made. But knowing what you know now, do you think Mike McCarthy should be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? Yes or no, and why?
This is the best Mike McCarthy's going to do. I think the problem with getting rid of Dak too is Dak has 64 million against the cap next year.
Yep.
They restructured his deal so many times, and you're in the same case as the Browns, because I think the Browns were kind of happy that Flacco shit the bed, because they didn't want to say to their fans, we're going to take away this quarterback that went, like, say, to the AFC Championship for Deshaun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
100%.
I think right now, I believe Antonio Pierce had a few meetings with the Titans and the Falcons.
Okay.
And I think Tom Brady has Mark Davis's ear, and Richard Seymour.
Wow. Richard Seymour. Yeah. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
So he was with the Patriots, and then he got traded to the Raiders. Yeah. So he has his ear too. I think Vrabel is the top choice for the Raiders job. And and the problem with Mike McCarthy, and I think Pete Carroll had this too. Pete Carroll, I think, got fired because of Sean McVay and Shanahan.
Yep.
Because he can't outcoach them.
No.
You've seen it the past few years, dude. They run schemes and they outcoach them every single year, and that is the problem with Mike. He's just the game is kind of passing by, I think.
I don't think, and I want the guys in the chat to tell me if they agree or disagree. I don't think the problem. Well, I think Mike McCarthy is one of the problems, but a bigger problem in Dallas is not Mike McCarthy. It's not even Jerry Jones. Jay Blaze, it's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is the problem in Dallas. Dominique Foxworth, again, he is one of these media types. He's a pro-black sports media figure. He caped up for Lamar Jackson. You heard that conversation that I recorded a long time ago when they had that conversation between him and Mad Dog. They were talking about him versus Joe Montana, and the arguments that he was using. It was so obvious that he was just arguing emotion and black without actually saying it. Dak Prescott is the fucking problem in Dallas, and Dominique Foxworth, his excuse for Dak Prescott was, well, Dak Prescott needs more help. I'm sorry, Jay Blaze. Dak Prescott has all the help he can get. He had Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. He's got Rico Dowdle. He's got CeeDee Lamb, who, by the way, led the NFL in receptions, set the Cowboys record for receptions and yards. He had easily one of the best defenses. You had Deron Bland running back pick sixes, admittedly against the Commanders and the fucking Panthers, and everybody wanted to fucking celebrate him for that, but that's okay. Hey, a pick six is a pick six. These are all professional football players. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But what it comes down to, Dak Prescott has had everything he needs for a while. And you want to know what? Let's get down to schematics. Let's get down to X's and O's. Dak Prescott does not, number one, he doesn't know how to read defenses. Yep. And number two, Dak Prescott is afflicted with the same limiting factor that limited Donovan McNabb. The only reason why Donovan McNabb had the success, or one of the main reasons McNabb had success here in Philly, is because he had a brilliant play caller in Andy Reid. Andy Reid was very, very good at more or less hiding McNabb's limitations, being able to throw inside the numbers, being able to thread the needle, throwing receivers open. Now that he's got a quarterback with a rocket arm who can actually do these things, you see the success that Andy Reid is now having with the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, he went to a Super Bowl with the Eagles, went to 4 straight NFC title games, but until he got a quarterback without those limiting factors, he wasn't going to win a Super Bowl. Now he's got 2. He's been to 4 Super Bowls. He's won 2. Dak Prescott listen, he is a serviceable NFL quarterback, but he is a glorified game manager. And I want to say this, Dak Prescott, for all intents and purposes, is an exemplary individual. Big in the community, Walter Payton Man of the Year award last year. This is not to say that Dak Prescott is a bad guy, because we all know Dak is a very good guy. Listen, he's got the intangibles, his teammates love him, his coaches love him. This isn't to say, I'm not attacking him personally, but professionally, the pro-black sports media is the reason why the Dallas Cowboys fell once again. We hype up this guy because he's a black quarterback playing in Dallas. Dak Prescott is an average quarterback. He is an average quarterback. On days, he can be a B-plus quarterback. But because he does not know how to read defenses, and he does not thread the needle, and he does not throw receivers open, at some point that will be a limiting factor. And one more thing before you go. If you notice when you watch Dak Prescott, every time he throws a pass, he throws it to a receiver. All of his passes are straight to a receiver. Very rarely do you see Dak Prescott throwing to a spot and a receiver running to the spot and catching the football like a Jalen Hurts or a Patrick Mahomes or a Jordan Love last night. Dak Prescott is not, he is a serviceable quarterback. He is a B-plus quarterback at the very best. Dak Prescott is the problem. And Jerry Jones is going to end up giving Dak Prescott probably a 4-year extension for $240 million. And that, like I told you in the middle of the season, when everybody was talking about Dak Prescott for MVP, I said, you know what? That is sealing the Cowboys' fate. That is sealing the Cowboys' fate. Dak Prescott is the problem in Dallas. So they have one of two options. They can either cut or trade Dak Prescott, or they're just going to have to sign him to a team-friendly deal. And I don't get the idea that Dak and his team are going to do that. What say you?
Yeah. So we saw this the past few years. You had teams, the 49ers, they moved off of Garoppolo, who was a limiting factor, and moved to Purdy. And Purdy is playing really well. You have, and I hate to bring him up in the show, Carson Wentz. They got rid of him and replaced him with Jalen Hurts. You saw it with Alex Smith. Alex Smith got them to playoff every single year.
Yep.
And they moved off him, went to Mahomes. And look at, they're having immense success. And I think the Cowboys need to make that step and say, Dak, you're limiting our chances. The only way to do it is you put the contract in front of them, say, this is what we think you're worth and how we think we can win in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
And you can either sign it or test the market.
There you go.
But you cannot give him $240 million. You just can't. Like, you cannot win with him because you saw it. Like, how do you take him and CeeDee Lamb were unbeatable the past four games.
Yeah.
And he could not hit his spots at all.
Couldn't do it.
You look at the same thing is happening with Tua. Tua is a warm weather quarterback.
Yes.
If he was in the NFC, it would be fine because most NFC, they have domes.
Right.
So he could play in domes. But he's going to have to go through Kansas City, Buffalo, and a bunch Pittsburgh, and all these cold weather. Yeah, all these cold weather games. And dude, he is screwed. This is why Miami probably should move off Tua and get a big arm quarterback. But
no, look, I am 100% on board with you. Guess what? And I don't think a lot of people realize this. The Cowboys are a warm weather football team, guys. They don't play very well in the elements. As a matter of fact, they are actually a physically slower football team on grass. When they played the Eagles in Philadelphia, the Cowboys weren't really that fast. They get on that fast track in Dallas and they run roughshod over everybody. So they're not a very good road team, number one. Number two, the Cowboys only had 2 wins over teams that finished with a winning record. Why are we surprised that the Green Bay... Now, I didn't expect the Green Bay Packers to absolutely boat race the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And I think we all know as sports fans, the final score, 48-32, that game was over. Dude, that game was over when Dak Prescott threw that pick six to make it 27-0. That game was over in the second quarter. It was over with.
Yes, Stat Prescott took over. Yes, I call him Stat Prescott. When he was down by 2, I texted my dad and I said, Stat Prescott is in the game now. He's going to throw up some yards to make himself look better for the final box score so he could have those shills on ESPN say, it wasn't Dak's fault. He had 400 yards. I was like, dude. What?
Oh, my God. And listen, nobody is laying any blame at the feet of the quarterback. In any other situation, a quarterback who has a game like that in the playoffs, when the 2 seed was literally gifted to you by the referee in your own building, you can't lay an egg like that. There is no excuse. No one is blaming Dak Prescott. It's all about the scheme, and he needs more help. And it's Mike McCarthy. I'm sorry, clock issues didn't really become a. You know what? When the score was 27-0, it didn't really become about the clock. At that point, Mike McCarthy wasn't really up against the clock. I don't think it was the play calling at all. I just think it's Dak Prescott is not a very good quarterback in the playoffs. And I said this about Romo back in the day before he finally proved himself. I actually wrote into Colin, and we've joked about this before. I said, Tony Romo / Dak Prescott, he's the greatest quarterback in NFL history. Outside of the division, against teams under 500, at home, before Thanksgiving. Greatest ever. This is what the Cowboys do year in and year out. And every year, the pro-black sports media buys into the hype because they want so bad for a black quarterback who's all tatted up, who came from a single mom, to be the face of the league. Dak Prescott ain't the face of the fucking league because Dak Prescott is not a winner. Dak Prescott beats bad teams. Anybody can beat bad teams.
I think Tony Romo if you put Tony Romo in that game when he was 30 years old, dude, he would have won that game because Tony Romo was a top 5 quarterback in the league for at least 5 years. And he had never had a defense anywhere near what Dak Prescott has. And he never Dak, he has no excuse. Like, dude, he doesn't time, like, Tua's an excellent timing guy, but he cannot throw the ball deep. And Dak has no timing whatsoever with his wideouts. He'll just, the guy's open. And dude, when guys are open, you need to do it a half second before they're open. Listen, Dak doesn't do that.
This is the best point. Dak Prescott only throws to open receivers.
Yeah.
Dude, I could throw to open receivers. You remember when you played football as a kid and you're the quarterback and you throw it to somebody else and the kid is like, dude, I was open. No, you were open after I threw the football and the defender swarmed to the other guy who had the football. You were not open. Dak Prescott, every time, like I said, he throws the ball only when the receiver is open. And listen, say what you want about Tua and his lack of arm. Tua is just like you said, he's a good timing. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they throw a lot of times, most of the time, they'll throw the football. The ball is in the air before the receiver is even making the break. That never, and I mean never, ever happens with Dak Prescott. I've seen him do it not one time. And so Jerry Jones is again about to pay this average quarterback elite money. He did that, dude. He did that 4 years ago, and it has burned them time and time again. Thankfully for them, they had a good draft. They got CeeDee Lamb, they got Micah Parsons. Guess what? They're in the playoffs. They're not going to have those top picks anymore. So now they got to be smart.
So the problem with paying Dak, dude, if you take CeeDee Lamb and that Tyler Smith, and you have to pay Micah Parsons, if you pay those and you get a young quarterback on his rookie deal, dude, you give him CeeDee Lamb, he's gonna play. He's gonna play well.
That's right.
And is Dak? Dak's not worth the amount of money you're going to pay him, and you're going to sacrifice on the talent there because right now they have a solid tight end. They have CeeDee Lamb and Pollard. He's like a change-up guy. If you can get a primary back, dude, that team's scary.
Let me ask you something. Do you think the Cowboys should bring back Zeke Elliott? Because to me, it's fairly clear that they missed Ezekiel Elliott. The Cowboys did not. They never really established a running game. They never established a consistent running game. Tony Pollard was at his, and dude, Tony Pollard's a home run hitter, but he was at best when there was thunder and lightning. Now there's only lightning. There is no thunder. And I know this is kind of putting it out there. And Zeke Elliott's only 28 years old. Should the Cowboys bring back Ezekiel Elliott to maybe shore up this running game?
See, I don't get why they didn't bring him back because, dude, what did the Patriots pay him? $3 to $4 million?
Yeah, it was incentive laden, but yeah.
If you get Zeke for $3 to $4 million, you do it because, dude, Pollard was nowhere near as effective. Pollard's a good change-up guy where you bring the speed in and you just throw the defense off that little bit.
Yeah.
And giving Pollard the ball way too many times and just it takes away his speed.